I don't know, everybody wants their name on the marquee. My name don't have to be on the marquee. I just want us to do something that we're going to have an impact.
This is a journey.
Let me take you on a journey.
There will still be the journey.
The journey.
New sheriff in town, and his name is
The journey.
Journey.
This thing is bigger than Nino Brown. This is
The journey.
The journey.
What is it that moved you?
The journey. The journey. The journey. The journey.
Welcome back to another episode of The Journey. I'm your host, Larry Robinson, and today we have a Memphis icon that didn't start in Memphis, but he is Memphis now. He's a Memphian through and through. He may not claim it, but he is. But before we get to that, I got a quote. And this quote comes from the great Martin Luther King. And it goes like this: almost always the creative, dedicated minority has made the world better. Why is this quote special for this conversation? This brother came from Summerville, Tennessee, but he's built multiple businesses, family, and everything. He has made Memphis better beyond a shadow of a doubt. I'm talking about Sylvester Tate, visionary, entrepreneur, leader, son, husband, and father. And besides all that, he's an amazing, amazing man. And I want to say again, a leader. Without further ado, Brother Sylvester Tate.
Thank you, Larry.
What's happening, Captain?
I'm just glad to be here, man.
Oh, man,
Long time
shoot.
coming.
I'm honored. I'm honored to be here with you, man. I mean,
Likewise.
like I said, I've watched you for so long, and I've admired your steps with Tate Computing and now with Rain Event Services, event facility. I mean, and how you've integrated your kids into what you're doing. I admire that. I truly admire that, and just want to give you your flowers today on that one. So listen, we're going to go back. Okay. Tell me about early years, your first early memories in Summerville, Tennessee. What was it like? What was the household like? And
Gosh, that's going way back.
Right.
It's a reality, of who I am today.
Okay.
With 9 of us in a house, 4-room house.
9?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I have 4 brothers and 4 sisters.
Okay.
And of course, you got your parents there. So that's
Right.
11 people in a 4-room house. So that,
Right.
that is where I came from.
Okay.
My first school I went to was a 3-room school with grade 1 through 8.
In the 3 rooms?
In the 3 rooms. And it wasn't always 3 rooms. It was 2 for a very long time.
Wow.
They actually moved a building next to the 2 rooms and made it a 3rd room. So we had like 5th through 8th grade over there, but everything else was 1 through 4.
Wow.
So,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
We got some, I really go back to when things were really tough, no inside toilets. We lived so far off the road that when it rained, we had to have a wagon to take us to the road to catch the bus.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So that's, that's where I came from.
Okay.
And,
okay. So let me ask you, in Summerville, who outside of your parents and those in the house with you had the biggest impact on young Sylvester Tate?
I had one teacher, a 5th grade teacher.
Really?
Her name was Miss Vassar.
Okay.
She just kind of took me under her arms, and I had cavities in my mouth. She took me to the dentist. She just embraced me, and and I loved her for it. And she just, I was always a person that paid attention to other people around me, and
Right.
so that's kind of where I got my desire to be more than where I came from, because I looked at the teachers and the teachers' kids, and I paid attention to them.
Right.
And so as I got in high school, I wanted to date the teachers' daughters, and
wow.
and of course I was in a different economic background
Right.
than the traditional. Not the traditional, but the kind of people that they wanted their kids to date. So I ended up dating this teacher's daughter, but I knew then that I had to keep my grades up. I had to be on point all the
Right.
time, because
Right.
back then, the parents wanted to see your report card.
Right.
So I would have to show my report card to the girls' parents, in order
Right.
to, but they still, they didn't like me.
They didn't like you?
They didn't like me. They thought, I wasn't good enough for their daughter.
Wow. I wonder what they say now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So what decision as a young person did you make that you probably didn't know it at the time ended up having lifelong impact on Sylvester Tate?
When I joined the Navy,
Really?
yeah,
What made you join the Navy?
because I was in a rut.
Okay.
I was in a rut and I wanted to get out of it, and I wanted to go back to school.
Okay.
And of course, 9 kids in the house, you know, there's not a lot of money to send you to school. I had gone to school to be a welder when I first got out of high school.
Okay.
And I realized early on that I didn't want to do that the rest of my life.
Right.
And I wanted to do something that I didn't have to use my hands so much, you know.
Right. Right.
So I got a job working at a company, and I ran into some issues with that company on trying to get promoted and getting into the OJT program.
Right.
So I was
OJT for y'all is on the job training.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And so I ended up start looking at my options to get out, and I started asking people what branch of service to go to, because I knew that it was peacetime, there was no
Right.
wars going on,
Right.
you know, and so everybody kept coming back to Navy, the Navy, the Navy. So I joined the Navy, and that's when I got into electronics,
Okay.
and that's what helped propel me to where I am today, being in technology, getting into technology.
Do you remember the day you said, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to the Navy. Do you remember that day?
I do.
What was that day like?
It was a day that actually I took all of the employees at the company, and we did a walk-in to the corporate office where I was working, and we were demanding some things, and they told us, if you don't get out of here with this foolishness, we're gonna fire all of y'all, right?
Really?
So I wasn't afraid.
Right.
But the other guys, they were married, they had families and things like that, so
Right.
they backed down, and so that was when I knew I had to get out of there.
Whoa.
And so that's when I went and joined the Navy.
How different are you from the person you dreamed you'd be as a young person?
You know, I didn't really have any dreams as a young person of what I wanted to be. I had no idea when I got out of high school what I wanted to be or what I wanted to do. And the reason I went into welding was because a friend of mine graduated. He got a really, really good job with Chicago Bridge and Iron,
Right.
welding, you know, making lots of money, you know, driving a new car. So
Right.
I wanted to do that, you know.
Right.
And of course, my studies didn't take me down that same path. So so I just knew that I had to do something different, you know.
At what point in your life did you know that you were going to be okay? That you were like, I can do this thing called life?
You know, it's interesting that I had so many journeys on the way to getting where I got, you know, but I was always a thinker, and I always paid attention to everything that went on around me, even when in the Navy. After I got in the Navy, I realized there was a difference between enlisted and officers. I did not know that. And so when I got in, I wanted to be an officer.
Right.
You know, I've always wanted to be up here, not down here, right?
Right.
And so when I got in, we used to have to do watch in what they call a ready room.
Right.
And all the employees, all the military people checks would be in the drawer. So I was looking at those checks, and I'm looking at the officer's check versus the enlisted checks.
Right.
I'm like, I'm gonna want to be one of them if I'm gonna stay in here, or I'm
Right.
gonna get out, you know?
Right. Right.
And so I decided to get out after 7 years, stayed in the reserve until I retired. Of course, now I get all the benefits of as if I had stayed in for 20 years. But
Wow.
but that was you know, kind of things that woke me up. And then when I got out, I went to work for a company, and one of the guys was a retired Navy guy. And so that's when I realized I was smart enough to do what they were doing.
Right.
So they was in the office equipment business, and so that's kind of how I started my company in the office equipment business.
Wow.
And so that was the beginning of the journey with, you know, I had 2 partners at the time. They bailed out on me after about 4 years.
Yeah,
I mean, 4 months.
Tough.
4
Times
months.
get tough, you know.
4 months, they were gone, you know, and
Well, I'm gonna ask you on the other side after the break. I'm gonna ask you about what made you keep going, because so many times your boys will stop and you'll be like, I'm gonna go with them, but what made you keep going? But my last question of this segment, and most brothers have a moment that they can really point to. but I want to know yours. When was that moment that you realized, when you looked in the mirror or realized that you were a black man? Hold on for a quick second. Listen, we're going to come right back. Brother Sylvester Tate is going to share with us when he realized he was a brother. Listen, this is The Journey on the Kudzukian Network. We'll be right back after this. Don't go nowhere.